Just one moment. Sorry guys, it's loading really slow today.
Do you have another image? Because the kind of the bloody Yggdrasil on the hospital wall or the insane asylum wall, that's what I'm looking at right now.
Oh, you can see it?
Yes.
Yeah. Like
Oh,
a lady
great.
looking forward.
Beautiful. Okay.
Yep.
That's weird. It's just loading slow for me then. So okay. You know what? I'm going to go like this. Well, we'll try and give people a peek at it when we can. I will switch over to this one, and then we'll try and come back. Yeah, it's weird. It still shows loading. Okay, so we'll just go ahead and move forward. So as you guys, now you don't see the woman standing there, but
Of
everything
course.
else is fairly
Yeah.
accurate. Now you guys are seeing the door is approximately 9 feet tall, but it's only about 5 feet wide. So, well, maybe 4 feet wide. The hallway that you're in isn't very wide itself, and so you guys, Ymir, you're going to have to basically kind of stand almost sideways to really be able to stand up to height and you know, be moving forward effectively. Now, all over the floor, you're definitely seeing blood and even small bits of viscera and bone, and it looks as though a lot of blood has been spilled and bodies dragged across into whatever lies beyond. Let's see.
Well, to facilitate that kind of stance, then Ymir is going to just holster his the World Maker, sling it back over his shoulder, so he could properly move around.
Okay. All right, I'm just refreshing here real quick. Okay, you sling your great weapon back over your shoulder. Hopefully it keeps the music going here. Okay, excellent. Let's give this just a second. There we go. And we need to go to GM. Here we go. There we
Up
go.
up again.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right,
Perfect.
guys. So, let's see. Like I said, everything is obviously leading around the corner to whatever lies beyond. You do see that that is more than a random kind of pooling or flowing of blood. It definitely is some kind of like symbol, probably some kind of sigil or rune. You're also seeing the claw marks the claw marks or finger marks that definitely show something was alive and struggling. And there is kind of a patine of blood and just kind of gore, as well as what you would guess is feces from the smell of things, just kind of crusted and caked all over the place. The lighting is right now There is not that kind of neon lighting up above. There's just the green glow from the candelabra. You guys can see that up ahead, probably about 20 feet ahead, 30 feet ahead. The hallway cuts sharply to the right, and very quickly, the valet takes the lead and begins walking at a brisk pace forward. As he does so, he turns his head over his shoulder and says to you,
"Mind the floors. They're quite slippery in these halls of blood. We try to clean, but they just keep making a mess."
Okay, and with that, he quickly disappears around the corner in front of you guys.
I want to stay as close as I can so I don't lose track of him.
Okay? You stay right up next to him. And Ymir?
The same, but as Ymir is making his way through the hallway as close and possible as he can with the group, he's starting to take stock of what his surroundings actually are, and it sickens him. It sparks something in him that it sparks up his inner bear. Let's just put it like that, because the hopeless slaughter of human life, or weaker life like that, especially for magical purposes, even though he understands that what he's doing is akin to what he hates, it's still he's still pragmatic enough to realize that sometimes, especially to get out of this area right now, whatever the hell it is, regardless of how angry it makes him, he's going to do it. But still gives him pause.
Okay. All right. Let's see, as you are moving forward, Ymir, you definitely notice that this is the kind of environment that there's not much that can make you start feeling irrational, but this is definitely the kind of just almost demonic, infested, kind of vile, poisonous environment that triggers your immune response. It's hard for you to even feel capable of thinking clearly. So, yeah, you're definitely ready to be out of here. As you guys continue forward, you see that there is a small series of what look to be rooms that branch off from the longer hallway that you're in. This hallway that you're in now, since you've turned the corner, looks roughly the same, but there's doors spaced every maybe 10 feet or so. 10, maybe 15 feet. And these doors are just simple, basic doorways. There's no actual door on them. And from your vantage point now, since you haven't actually gotten parallel to them, you can't really see in. But you notice that there's a few, you would say a few dozen of them in this long length of hallway that you're in, on either side. As you begin advancing through, you guys get to within about 20 feet of one of the doorways, one of the sets of doorways on either side, and the valet says, he turns over his shoulder to you slightly and slows his pace a bit, and he says,
"Remember, you are but witnesses here. Have no hand in the events that transpire, or you will break our protection." Heed my words, for this is a terrible and impassable place for beings such as yourself.
Okay, with this, you guys step forward, and as you get parallel to the first door, you look over. And you see an image most foul. Whatever the being is at the sink, its intention is clear, and its deeds most apparent. On the wall, you see a similar sigil, and you would guess that this is a ritual, a blood ritual, intended to appease whatever being that symbol represents. The signs of struggle and the cruel and terrible wounds inflicted on the cadaver show a gruesome and violent end to a young and promising life. You're instantly stricken by the strange state of the room, in that it has a more contemporary look than you would have guessed to be below this facility. As you look a bit more closely, you can see that the doorway itself is lined in a thin, rippling, watery band of energy, a field that shimmers and fits almost perfectly in the doorway. At small points where the ripples recede a bit further than the doorway itself, you can see that behind this rippling image of this room with this scene in it, there is simply black beyond. And Akama, you get the sensation that you're looking at another one of the kind of projections that you had seen representing windows earlier. Okay? As you look to the other side, you see that beyond the doorway, it is simply black. There's no image. You guys keep pace with your guide, and as you do so, several more strange and horrific images await you on your path through the hallway. Some denote scenes of mass slaughter, others gruesome revelry in cruel and depraved acts, but all have one commonality. All seem to be in the service of whatever that tree of blood symbol represents. You guys quickly get to the end of the hallway, and you see that there is a crude stone archway that opens into a large cavern beyond. As you start approaching, your guide slows down and holds a hand up to have everybody take a pause. As he does so, he begins turning around and trying to hold the candles off to the side as not to completely obscure everybody's faces with their light. As he turns around, he says,
We must now pass a priest of the lurker. Remember what I said. You are forbidden to act. Heed my words.
okay, he turns back around, and as he
Ymir begrudgingly snarls and kind of snaps at his jaw is jittering and he's upset because of the sights that he's been, but he still composes himself enough to let out a slight nod to Lopan-G.
Okay. All right. He catches this and he turns and begins proceeding. As you guys walk forward, you're hearing some kind of dark chanting and a strange kind of warbling music that definitely kind of it gives you both that same kind of unsettling feeling as though it's something incredibly unnatural. Um, you guys also start picking up uh, the sounds of some kind of cavern-like complex up ahead of you. You're hearing some different reverberations and echoes that make you think that there's some kind of large enclosed area. But you're also hearing some footfalls and people, people, creatures, something moving things around, although trying to not be necessarily loud about it. Um, you begin seeing some light from up ahead as well, and as you clear the stone archway, very quickly into your field of vision, this scene emerges. Okay. As you guys come into the room fully, you see that there is a great and hulking demonic figure that is wielding a some kind of enchanted blade or shard of metal over a hovering victim of some sort. You see the victim has been bound and is covered in all kinds of sigils and seals that denote some kind of ritualistic, magical processes. You notice that all of the light coming from the candles seems to be of this sickening, unearthly shade that invokes a kind of nauseous response in the eyes that is very unfamiliar to most. But those familiar with the demonic have heard this description often. Um, and similar to eating something cold too quickly, it can easily produce that same level of discomfort directly behind one's eyes after a short amount of time. Um, you start realizing that the red energy that appears to be being extracted from the victim, um, it it seems like an ethereal representation of blood, as it seems to flow in a very liquid fashion through the air, rather than the crackling arcs of standard plasma and electricity. You notice that most of these worshippers appear to not be human, in that most of their exposed flesh seems to be in the late stages of necrosis and literally be falling from their frames in large chunks onto the floor. They move with stiff, halty actions, and they seem fairly devoid of intelligence from what you're able to gather. Nobody seems to really be talking. The only ones making any vocalizations are the individuals that are involved in the chants that are going on about you. For the most part, you can see what you feel is the main section of chamber in front of you, laid out. You would guess that the ceiling is probably 200 feet high, as the majority of the room uh, flutes itself upwards into a more narrow chimney that goes extremely high up. Um, you
The
notice.
blade.
What's that?
Oh, I was just going to ask, does Ymir recognize the metal of the sacrificial dagger? Is it anything like the necromantic metal that he pulled off the spider beam from the reactor?
As you kind of ponder on this, you actually would guess that it's not.
Okay.
This, what he's holding, looks to your eye to be perhaps even a piece of obsidian that's lined with like threads of metal. It's hard to tell from this range, but you're
Mm-hmm.
picking up a kind of glossy kind of glint that you're pretty sure is obsidian. Um, okay.
As I'm looking at this priest, is there any way that I can figure out something that I've known in the past about?
Um, this is stuff that you're unfamiliar with.
Okay.
You're positive from your knowledge of magical practice that this is some kind of blood sacrifice, some kind of sacrifice like we've discussed, that magic users will basically bring a living being to the point of death, and at that point their inner spiritual energy kind of doubles right as they cross over, and so that will be harnessed as a kind of magical battery to fuel different things. um, and that's so you're sure that that's what you're seeing here, but as far as which kind of demon or any further real details, you're not sure. That's one thing that you have very little experience in. You've never had a taste for necromancy, and you kind of are. That's one subject you're not very knowledgeable on when it comes to magic. Let's see. You are able to see that there appears to be stars somewhere high above in the ceiling, as you both kind of gaze upward just to get the measurement of the room. And after a moment, you realize it's not stars in the ceiling, it's that the ceiling actually does open up into what appears to be a newly forming night sky. Um, and you quickly realize that you're not that far underground right now, and apparently there's some kind of opening up there that leads directly to the sky. Um, you're not sure if that means that this place is located inside some kind of strange kind of pit, or what, but that's the sense that you're getting. Uh,
Through the skylight, do I recognize any of the constellations? Do we know that?
Unfortunately, the sky is still bright enough. It's not
Okay.
quite dark enough that you're only able to pick up a few random kind of stars.
Okay.
So, yeah. You're not seeing cloud cover, though. Um, but it's right at twilight, so it's just kind of like a flat, starting to darken matte. So,
Right.
okay, so as you guys are walking in, the valet is taking long, confident strides forward until essentially he's standing right in front of the altar. He turns to the left and begins walking around the inner circle, obviously meaning to circumvent the ritual going on in front of him. As you guys approach, you basically get right to this perspective, and you can decide to keep going around to the left and move around the ritual, or what you want to do. That's where that's where the valet just went. Is he went right next to the priest around on the left, and appears to be heading, just past him.
I kind of want to do the same, but I don't want to be anywhere near the ritual.
I mean, you're gonna have to get right up next to it if you want. Otherwise, you could try and kind of muscle your way through a pretty large group of these worshippers that's over on the left and kind of not be close. Does that make sense? Kind of push your way through the crowd on the left instead of getting right up next to them and using the open area around it.
Yeah, I want to mush through these guys.
All right. You turn to the left and you stick one arm out to naturally kind of push somebody back a bit to make room for yourself. Ymir, what are you doing?
I will do the same, following the path that Akama blazes the trail of, as to not disturb, draw any more ire. Ymir still doesn't want to be here, and he's a big enough target as it is, and so he just follows in the pathway that Akama starts making through the left of the crowd.
Okay. You turn to the left, seeing what your companion is doing, and you begin following him through the crowd. You reach out, Akama, and you kind of push one of the individuals out of your way, and start sliding forward.
Respectfully.
I mean, explain to me how you do this. Because you gotta, think of it kind of like a concert. You know what I mean? Like, how are you?
Oh, I'm walking with my arms sticking out, and I'm like basically prying my hands in between them as I walk, kind of like a side by side motion.
Okay. So as you're walking through, so you are kind of, you're
I'm not necessarily shoving people to the
not,
left
you're not
and right
shoving
of me.
them. You're not, okay. So you kind of are just creating some space. And as you're doing so, you're moving through. Ymir, you get partway into the crowd as well. You guys are starting to move forward, and you get about not quite all the way to the left of the guy when you hear a booming voice from the priest bark out,
"Infidels! You would disturb our holy works?"
At this, you look over, and his head has turned to face you, and he's looking at you moving through his crowd. Okay? And as he's watching this, he turns a bit further, and his neck stretches at an unnatural angle as he spins it further to look over at the valet, who has stopped walking forward and is looking back over at you guys with his eyes kind of large and round. He begins to open his mouth to speak, and the priest whispers,
"Begone, agent of order. Away from me fly."
And with this, the image of the valet shimmers and just dissipates like smoke, leaving no trace behind after just a second. You guys look around and notice that all of these individuals, these worshippers, are now still and are kind of looking over in your direction. Now, at this, I assume you guys have kind of slowed or stopped. Would that be fair to say? Or do you want to continue going?
Ymir is definitely stopped. Yeah.
Okay. And how about you, Akama?
Yep, same.
Okay, you go ahead and stop. He looks back over at you, and he says,
Is your intention to stop us, agents of light?
Ymir speaks up fully with the full aspect of his voice, but still calmly and respectfully as he possibly can be with a being like this. And he goes, "No, Great One, our intention was never to offend. We only seek a way out. Our guide was leading us, and we did not wish to disturb your ritual. Forgive me. Forgive us."
Okay, with this, he stares at you for just a few seconds. And then he looks over at you, Akama, and he says,
Atlantean filth. Many of my kind have fallen to you. You bespoil our sanctuary of slaughter. Be gone from this realm. The door is open.
okay, and at this, he turns back towards the hovering victim and once again starts withdrawing its inner life force and essence in its ritual. The individuals in front of you all part several feet, giving both of you plenty of room to walk through undisturbed, forming a line along the length of that side of the room that seems to head all the way to the other side. All of the other individuals now have turned back and have begun their chants and their motions and ministrations once again. And you can hear the entire group begin getting back in sync and commencing the ritual once again. Up ahead, you can see that there's some kind of opening on the far end of this passage that's been opened for you. What would you guys like to do?
I shake my head and then start walking toward the doorway.
Okay. You start walking towards the doorway, Ymir?
Ymir follows slowly and carefully behind,
Same.
sort of not necessarily embarrassed, but to him, he feels like now he is going to have to go and apologize to Lopanji for disobeying such a direct order. Even,
That's great. That is great. Right on, man. Go ahead.
so he makes his way towards the portal, but the way he sees it is that even though he knows that Lopan isn't, he was called an agent of order, but he doesn't quite understand what kind of level Lopan is at. But he feels embarrassed as he slowly walks towards the portal, like, hopefully we can finally get out of here, but he's going to probably go try to find Lopan to offer sincere apologies.
Okay. All right, you start walking forward, and Akama, what would you, as you're moving forward, you still have some time on your enhanced sight. Is there anything in particular you want to try and look at or focus on, anything like that?
As I'm walking by, can I stare at the person that's getting stolen?
Yes. Okay, so as you look at that individual, you're able to tell that it is indeed a human female. You can see the life energy of this individual being rent from its physical form, one small mote of light at a time. And the effect is actually really, how can I put this? It is spiritually shattering to see this level of torment being inflicted on a sentient creature, let alone kind of like a higher life form. The process is being slowed down to a crawl on purpose so that the agony of this being is smeared and stretched across the longest time frame possible. Indeed, that's the point of the ritual, is to bring agony and revel in it. And so you would guess that whoever this is, they're probably going to have weeks, if not months, of this exact same moment happening before they finally run dry. And even then, you're not sure what kind of afterlife awaits a being consumed in this fashion. You also notice that this young woman has long since lost her grip on sanity, because with your enhanced vision, you're able to see her eyes through the flares of magical energy, almost like a spectral X-ray, and her eyes beneath the wrappings are wild, like an animal caught in a trap, prepared to chew its own leg off to escape. Unfortunately, in this situation, the animal has neither leg nor mouth to effect its escape. She thrashes limply and weakly, lacking any real energy to free herself, and it's apparent that this level of torture is more than enough to completely turn a human mind savage and animalistic. You're noticing that much of her lip structure is gone, as well as her tongue being a jagged tangle of meat that sporadically erupts from the twisted ruin of her mouth, as she's long ago chewed away her own lips and tongue in tantrums and fits of pain and madness. And that's what you see. And that's what you see. As an Atlantean, I don't need to tell you
Well, alrighty then.
the kind of effect that has on you.
Yeah. This is terribly disgusting. It bothers me so much, but at the same time, I had to make sure that I am out safely, and I'll bring my anger with me.
Gonna bottle it up.
I got to.
Use that old chestnut. Just bottle it up.
Oh, God.
Bottle it up.
It's terrible.
Worked for your giant friend his entire life, so
So you're gonna continue on?
Yeah, we're getting the fuck out of here.
All right. You continue on through the crowd, and as you guys start making it further and further down this opening that's been made for you, the faint, muffled screams and whimpers of the victim resonate and echo in your ears, and you guess that it will be through all time that a small piece of this horrific event will trail you in that echo. Up ahead, you guys see a doorway in the back of this structure. The doorway looks to be emanating a bright reddish light that also is accompanied by a strange, low, almost kind of like a bass note that's just reverberating deeply uh, in your ears and getting louder the closer you approach. Um, this resonant frequency seems to have almost like a palpable electricity to it, and it's filling the air with uh, this kind of energy that just seems to uh, kind of put you a bit on edge. There's something almost like the few moments before a huge lightning storm erupts. In the level of ozone that you're picking up, that's definitely putting you guys on edge. Uh, you get closer to the door, and you notice that Ymir, you're gonna have to really crouch and squeeze your way through this door because it's not very big. Um, you get up to it, and you're both noticing that it looks like there are figures, shadows, moving around on the other side of the door. And as you get closer and closer, you notice that several of them seem to stop all at the same time. And as they appear to be humanoid forms, they seem to look through different cracks and crevices around the window and door frame and keyhole. They seem to peer through some of these openings at you, and you see bright emerald eyes gazing at you from inside of dark forms. Several pairs of them, at least 5 or 6 pairs. They look at you, blinking almost in astonishment, and then quickly seem to dart out of sight and disappear somewhere off, out of frame from your perspective. You guys get directly up to the door, and you see that there's no handle whatsoever. It appears to simply just push open. On the other side, you can hear some wind blowing, but not much else, and the wind sounds relatively mild. Just kind of like a whistling, like maybe something you'd hear down in a cave, just a natural kind of air pressure change happening at a constant pace.
Gotcha, okay.
Okay, so what would you guys care to do?
Bust the door down, right? That's what it looks like. Yo, yams.
Ymir's just looking to be rid of this place. He's not going to bust the door down, but he is going to prepare himself to go through this portal.
I'm gonna
He doesn't
prepare myself and
he
open the
doesn't
door nice and
necessarily
slowly.
trust it, but
Nice and slowly.
Okay. As you squeak the door slowly open, inch by inch, you see on the other side, you see a little cubby on the left as you proceed through. In front of you is basically a dark corridor, and as you start entering it, you see that the corridor is about 10 feet tall, about 5 feet wide, and on directly on the left as you enter, there's this little cubby. And within, there's obviously the trappings of some kind of ritual, and what looks to be a door behind some candles and what seems to be an offering. Now, down on the floor, you notice what appears to be a large human heart. It sits on a plate of hammered iron from the looks of things. And you see that up on the door, there are several different patterns and sigils of denoting some kind of magical ritual. You're also noting several of these kind of card-looking sigils that have been attached,
Like
and
talismans?
you both would guess from your magical acumen that these are some kind of seal. It looks like some kind of seal. All right, so this is directly to your guys' left, but the hallway continues straight ahead down into, well, just forward into darkness. So what would you guys care to do?
I still got all my stuff, like my bag and all my equipment.
Yep, you got your gear.
I'll take out my camera and take a picture of this.
Okay, excellent. Make a note that you've done that. You take a picture of. You could just put ritual door. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So now that you've snapped a picture too, what would you guys like to do?
Make our way out, I'm assuming.
Keep moving down the hallway.
Okay. You turn and begin moving down the hallway. The hallway becomes darker and darker until essentially it's in just pitch black. Your enhanced vision is allowing you to see. Let's see. You guys travel on for what you would guess to be about 500 feet until you come to an area where up ahead you can see some light. As you get closer, you realize that the light is some kind of it's some kind of well. It looks like there's a shaft of light coming down from a circle in the ceiling somewhere up ahead of you in this hallway. And as you continue on, you see that there is indeed a large 6-foot radius, so it's about a 12-foot diameter. It almost like a raised stone well, the surface of one. You can see that from your perspective, the hole comes up from the ceiling and then has about a 10-foot shaft built of stone, and then there's a lip, and above that you can see what looks to be night sky with quite a bit of stars now. You notice that this entire structure seems to have a large, some kind of metal ladder that leads from the floor directly up into the shaft of light. And as you get closer, you're able to discern it's definitely going to be strong enough to support you, Ymir, as well. This is a huge. It almost looks like a primary entrance into a subterranean layer because of how it's constructed to be able to support massive weight. You notice that there are some strange bags laying in the small chamber that the bottom of this well seems to be located in, around the sides of the room. These bags appear to be some kind of metal cabling or netting, and inside there appears to be thousands of dismembered humanoid victims that have all been stuffed into these large kind of containment nets for disposal. Inside are every imaginable variation of body part and torso and head, all combinations of races, genders, ages, and some are obviously DBs and although you're not seeing anything that's not even humanoid, you are seeing that there are several different alien humanoid species represented as well. All in all, you would say this is probably the main dumping site for whatever these blood practices are that this cult uses. You notice, however, that the ladder is completely free of blood and gore, unlike the surrounding area in the room that's pretty much covered in it. And you would surmise that the bodies are not disposed of by taking them up the ladder. Okay. As you guys hit within about, we'll say, 30 feet of the bottom of the ladder itself, you start hearing a low hissing noise. It begins almost like the rattle of like a hi-hat on drums, and it slowly progresses up to something a bit more staccato and kind of pulsing, where it almost sounds like whatever is hissing wants you to understand that you're in danger. The noise becomes loud enough after just a couple of seconds that it actually is it's close to what you consider like an animal growling at you, trying to intimidate you. Okay, and
darkness, can I see anything?
as you look around, all you guys are seeing is these kind of bags, these cabled bags of bodies.
I don't have an aura or anything emanating through the darkness. Trying to figure out where the hell this snake-like creature is.
You're looking around and you're not seeing anything at all with all of your enhanced vision and everything like that.
Is the sound coming from above or below?
It seems like it's coming from within this room on the same level as you guys. But every time you hear it, it's like it's jumping around the room. It'll go off for 3 or 4 seconds and then quiet down. And then it'll come back up for a few seconds and quiet back down from a different spot. You guys are about 30 feet from the ladder, and every time you've heard it, it sounds more like it's around the outer part of the room. This room is probably, we'll say, about 100 feet across and square. So,
I mean, I'll mush forward.
okay. You take
Toward the
several.
ladder.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Ymir, go
No,
ahead.
I interrupted you. You go ahead.
So as you start taking some strides forward, you start hearing several more of the hisses all start at once. You make it about another like 10 feet, so you're about 20 feet from the ladder. But you're hearing what you would guess to be about 6 separate, distinct animals making these noises now. And while they sounded before like they were all, while it sounded like it was from the outer portion of the room, now you're hearing a few of these coming from literally just a few feet away from you in the darkness where you're still able to see, but you're not seeing anything at all there. A couple seem to be coming directly from behind you guys, a couple from directly in front, and then like one on each side. And you would guess that if you reached out, you could probably touch some of them. They're so close.
I get into a defensive posture
Okay.
and still make my way toward the ladder.
Okay. You make your way forward, and as you get within about 5 feet of the ladder, you physically bump into something that you can't see. There's something there that's smooth and cool to the touch, and your hand brushes against the texture of something reminding you slightly of shark skin that feels smooth in one direction but rough in the other. You only get just a moment to perceive this as you brush this object with your hand. But whatever it was extremely cold to the touch. It gives a little as you brush against it, and you feel it actually retreat away from your touch. Immediately after, the loudest one yet of those kind of hissing noises erupts right in your face, literally right in your face. You would guess you could just headbutt something and be able to smash whatever the hell it was. You also get a putrid whiff, smelling of rotten fish and earth, dead, sour earth from rotten graves. Okay, what would you like to do? You are at the base of the ladder now.
This motherfucker just step up in my box like he's gonna do something, being all buns and shit. My mama said never always take the first punch. I'm gonna climb this ladder.
All right, you hop up on the ladder, and nothing happens. You just start climbing the ladder. Whatever is making the noises appears to be allowing you to leave unmolested. And Ymir, you get to the base of the ladder. You don't brush up against anything, but from your higher vantage point, you're able to easily identify that there is indeed half a dozen something creatures around you. And they've closed into where they're just right fucking next to you. As your companion gets up high enough, you're able to reach out and grasp onto the ladder and start bringing yourself up the rungs. Would you like to do that?
Yes.
Okay. You grab a hold and begin
Move
climbing up.
quickly with purpose.
All
I
right,
can't
so
stress that enough. Quickly
so-
with purpose.
So you make sure not to make any erroneous contact, and you climb up post haste. And as you guys crown the top of the ladder after just a few short moments of climbing, you guys emerge
Thank the Lord.
into a beautiful, crisp evening directly opposite what appears to be a graveyard. The well is in its own small section of this courtyard, tucked away neatly under a kind of tangle of old trees. As you come up from the well's lip and round the edge, you both take a nice deep breath of what appears to be real and true earth air once again.
Thank God.
As you as you look around, you see the valet is standing about 20 feet from you guys, over towards the large gates in that direction. And he's looking at you, no longer holding his candelabra as high, and it has once again returned to the kind of purple, soft glow. He stares at you